Hi, everyone. Good morning, Nikki. Good
Good
morning,
morning, Michelle.
everybody. And welcome to Gratitude Journey with Michelle. Today, we have a very special guest down under from Australia, Nicki Dennis, the heart behind the positive mind. She has a podcast. She's dedicated in sharing powerful stories of kindness, transformation, and human connection. Nikki's mission is about inspiring people to live with heart, embrace positivity, and connect meaningful ways. And that's what exactly this conversation is going to have today. We'll talk about how gratitude shapes our lives, hear uplifting stories about Nikki, transformation, uncovering simple joy of positivity, and how to connect with Nikki later on. So I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you for joining me. And Nikki, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you for having me. Well, I'm Nicki Dennis, and I'm the director of Positive Vibes with Nicki Dennis, and that's a podcast that I created at the start of the year. And that evolved around a big change in my life where I left the corporate world, a career of 34 years at the top of my career, and I had an opportunity where I could step into myself and find my true purpose. So that's me, Michelle.
Thank you so much, Nikki, for sharing that. And for those, I'm humbled and honored that I was one of Nikki's Positive Vibes with Nikki in one of our podcasts. And that's how we get connected. And I tell you later on where to find her in YouTube, Facebook. So make sure to watch the end of this show as well as make sure that you follow her as well. So that's really wonderful, Nikki. Your journey was so inspiring, being in the corporate world and changing. I'd love to hear more about what the transformation, the personal stories, and how the positivity and gratitude has influenced you to really live that corporate world and embrace this new chapter of your
Mm.
life.
Yeah. Well, Michelle, I've always been a true believer in every situation, every story, every loss or failure. There's always light, and to have gratitude for what's happening. As hard as it can be when things are happening around us or to us, and we can see a negativity, we think our life is over, or what we thought was meant to be is no longer, and we're grieving that. I feel there's a great sense of seeing those negatives as true positives in disguise, because they're actually redirecting us in our lives and where we're meant to go, in our true purpose. Although we can't see it at the time, it is actually redirecting us. And also that these moments may also be that what we're experiencing at the time is trying to actually save us from something worse. So I'm a big believer that things happen for a reason, and that there's always a light in what we see as a negative, and it's actually disguised as a positive. For me, it's about trust, and it's having that trust. And it takes so much because, again, I fought it and tried to make things happen, and things didn't happen. And I know we've all been there, done that, that we think our journey is this and we try hard, but it fails. And we feel like a failure, or we're grieving for something that we thought was going to be, or we've had in our lives that's now moved on, but it's all for a reason. So it can be hard. And like many of you out there, I've experienced that. And it's trying to trust that everything happens for a reason, and trying to find that true light. Like yourself, Michelle, like your story is an amazing story, that we discussed on my podcast, and how you've come over that and how you're leading with positivity. And I also believe in life, you know, we we often live life like we've got forever. And as you know, Michelle, with your personal journey and also with my personal journey, and others out there that have lost those loved ones around us, that there's no guarantee that we'll get another chance. And once we realize that we may not get another chance, another moment, to be brave and to change things in our life, um, yeah, we've got to start looking at life and what is best for my life in those moments, because there's no guarantee, and we've got to start to step up. I always say, be careful what you wish for, because I have a true affirmation every day that I ask the universe. Again, I was brought up in a religious family. We weren't all religious, but I was born up and baptized as Catholic. But I've really moved towards that. There's a higher thing for me. I believe that there's a higher thing in the world where the universe serves all. There's no definition between cultures or spirits, religion, or anything like that. That it's just there to serve all, and that it's leading us on our true path. And I always say, be careful what you wish for, because I affirmation every day was, with love, grace, and gratitude. This is what I say every day: with love, grace, and gratitude. Please lead me to my highest purpose for the highest good, for the common good of all. As I'm a true humanitarian, and I
I
believe um, that we're here to do good for all, not just ourselves, but to do good for all. And for me, if I'm shining at my highest, I can shine for others and then be able to provide for more. Um, Again, the universe, with my change, get into back your question, was fed up with me not being brave, and living my life chasing what others thought my success should look like.
Mhm.
I was brought
Mhm.
up and conditioned, as we all are, brought up and conditioned as a child, and in society, what success really, what success looks like for yourself. And I was chasing that success. I was at the top of my career, and but I lost my identity. It wasn't who I was. It wasn't my self purpose,
Mhm.
and not realizing that the best kind of success is the kind that feels like peace. In my life, in my world, I wasn't at peace, and I mentioned before, my true passion is humanity, and that's what drives me every day. I'm a true empath. I love serving. I love giving to others. I have a strong sense of protecting others and doing what is right. Although my career was seen as a very giving and nurturing career, it's a career in health. I was working in a very toxic energy environment. And that's when you're in the thick of that environment, of those toxic energies, energy meets energy. And
Mhm.
I felt that I wasn't showing up as my best self. I was in a constant state of survival. And I felt like I was survival not for myself, but also for my team and the community I was serving. And I liken it more to what we call the warrior. I felt like I was a warrior all the time, so having to step in that warrior moment, and feeling I had to protect myself and others from being attacked constantly, and strategically defending and protecting myself and others by doing what was right and calling out what was wrong. However, in those worlds, by doing that, I wasn't realizing that I was making myself as a target, and not conforming to majority, being the minority, and being felt very alone, and having to do more to make myself feel that I was being successful. However, I lost myself. I wasn't my authentic self in that role. I was stepped into something else that I had to do. And the role, it wasn't who I was personally. I didn't feel myself. I wasn't authentic. I didn't like myself. And I lost who I was, my true identity. And my life purpose, I wasn't enjoying life. I was living in constant stress, believing I wasn't stressed, thinking it was normal. I would say I was walking through life, and not living life, missing out on those subtle things, in those enjoyable things in life that we take for granted. And a lot of people take for granted every day, like going on the morning walk and listening to the birds singing, watching the sunrise, am, looking at the beauty of the sunrise. I walked every day, and yet I was on the phone to my work, and not taking that in, those subtle moments of really connecting with nature and truly grounding myself, because I was so busy. I wasn't aligned to my purpose. My career story, as I said, the universe, I was at the top of my career, finishing off my master's in business. I was in a position, the universe put me in a position where I was faced with a choice to leave my career. And I thought, wow, what do I do here? I realized I wasn't happy. My father at the time was also dying, and he lived over 1,000 kilometers away from me. And I really didn't like the energy of the people I worked with. But the other thing is, I loved my job as what it was doing for serving the community, and I was also loyal to my team that I led. So I was in a real position, but I thought at the end I really had to do what was best for me. And the universe actually handed me a beautiful opportunity where I was virtually catapulted out of my career, but I landed softly. It gave me protection, which I was most grateful for, where I landed softly so I could leave my career over 33 years and go and look after my dad for 6 months until he passed away. So for me, that was something that I could not have done if I stayed in my job. Now, I remember the day after, the day after I left my job, it was a weekend, and my job consumed me 24/7, 7 days a week. I didn't know what to do but work, which is quite sad, because it's like being addicted to something. You just throw yourself into it. People talk about alcohol and drugs addiction. Work is one of the biggest addictions, and it happens to more people in the world than we ever know. And you become addicted to it because you're trying to strive to what success looks like, probably
Yeah.
for everyone else and
What
not yourself.
society
Yeah.
says. Mm-hmm.
And I remember sitting there feeling sorry for myself, going, what have I done? What have I done? Doom and gloom, the absolute anxiety going through me, going, what have I done? I've just, thrown everything away that I've worked for. I didn't know who I was. I was always Nicki Dennis with a title behind myself. I wasn't just Nicki Dennis. I always introduced myself as Nicki Dennis with my title, because everyone that you meet these days, and this is what I challenge when I meet people, when I go, oh, hi, I'm Nicki, they go, oh, what do you do? And I go, I'm Nicki. People always follow up with, what do you do, as it's a status in life. And anyway, I was sitting there watching the tennis, and it was a grand final, and I remember one of the competitors, the runner that was the runner-up, they were interviewing her, and this is mind you, the day after I've left my job, feeling doom and gloom and sorry for myself. And in that moment, the universe slapped me again, and listening to this girl being interviewed, the commentator asked her, and it was Coco, the American tennis player, said, you become runner-up today. How do you feel about that? Straight away, this beautiful young lady come back at that, going, well, I feel fine about that, because my job doesn't define who I am. And that was a big bang, slapped me down right there and then. I went, yeah, you're
It's a
right.
big aha moment.
Jobs don't define who we are. We define who we are. People believe that, as I said, jobs define us as a status in life. And I believed it. But it doesn't. It really doesn't, because at the end of the day, I truly believe you're remembered for how kind you are to others. And for me, that's how I like to live my life now, is about bringing kindness and connecting people, showing that there's more kindness out in the world. That's why I started Nicki Dennis with Positive Vibes, is to get out to the world. There's more kindness in the world. out there than what we're told through our social medias and broadcast TVs, that there is more kindness out there, and that if you live your life around kindness and define yourself around that, lead it as your true value, that's how others will define you in life. And I often hear when people pass away, and you know that they weren't a very nice person, and we've all been to those funerals in the past. They always call them as a character. They never define them as a kind person, because sometimes people are caught up in different spaces in the worlds and have led a journey that hasn't been where they've shined at their highest self. And for me, that's where this defining moment in my career led me to getting back to knowing who I was authentically, who I am, and where I love to be. And so I can actually started healing myself and learning my spirituality again, learning how to step out of the masculine role that I was in, because I was so much in my masculine side. I lost my
Being in the
feminine
corporate.
side, and I needed the balance. You need both in life.
Yeah.
But I just stood in that masculine for so long. I didn't know how to step into my feminine, and that's where I went and did my healing, did lots of self-love, lots of courses, lots of women's circles and connections, and tapped back into my spirituality to where I was 15 years prior, stepping into what I thought was the top of my career, and really pulling all that back together, and being true to myself. And again, we're still learning. I truly believe I'm still on my whole mission and my whole purpose. Where I end up, I'm just trusting that everything that I've done and walking to, and also being actioned. You can't sit there and have affirmations without action. You've really, really got to look at actually actioning that, being brave. And one of my most common phrases I refer to is growth starts where comfort ends. If you don't push yourself through that you step out of that comfort zone, you're not pushing yourself, and you're not really on your true life purpose, because being comfortable, you're really stagnating yourself in life. And that's where things like me that happened to me, the universe will make it happen, particularly if you ask for it and really strive for it in life.
Nikki, thank you for sharing. It's echoing. Thank you for sharing the vulnerability with your career changing, the transformation from the corporate world to now the positive vibes with Nikki. And I like what you said about be careful what you wish for. There's this Chinese proverbs that guard your thoughts. Your thoughts becomes your
Mm,
words, and then your words become your reality. And I think I
yeah.
found another one thing in common. You and I. I grew up in Philippines. I grew up with straight Catholic beliefs, and then I mean I'm still Catholic, but not as practicing as I used to. My Filipino family were gonna be watching this and will say like, now I have to go to confession. But there's really more to it. It's not the denomination. It's really regardless of religion, it's really being true to yourself and being kind to others. That's really what it is,
Mhm.
and make this better world better than we found it. Um, I love that the sharing and losing your identity and getting back your identity and the universe and the sign. So for the other thing that I just want to kind of really with your podcast also with the positive vibes with Nikki, and I watched some of those actually because I follow you. And sometimes just like with gratitude, right? It's not
Yeah.
sometimes it's not that easy, and staying positive isn't that always easy. So have you
Mm.
faced any challenges along the way that, and what lessons can you share our viewers, your viewers, the viewers in gratitude journey with Michelle that yeah, when some of this negativity or some things, like what are the tools that you could share that will help them snap out of it or have that positive mindset? Because along the way there's always going to be curveballs in our lives.
Yeah, there is, and you're so right, Michelle. It's every day you've got to work for that positivity. You just don't wake up, and jump out of bed and be positive. So again, affirmations every day, asking the universe to help me be my highest self, the highest good, the common good of all. I really set that intention, because I'm here to do what's good. And it's always hard because when things are happening to you or if there's negativity around you, and this is where I've been really honing in, and where you become an observer rather than a participant. And but by stepping back and becoming an observer of what's actually happening in that situation, and this is what I've learned because I was always a participant,
You walk
always.
into the room, you walk into that door, right?
Yeah. Energy meets energy, bang. I was just so participating in that and so open to, and we're all energy. People go, oh, that's work stuff. But science, is there about energy. Science with the moon and the tides, that's energy. We hear things all the time about how energies, solar flares are impacting equipment on planes. It's true. It's there. We're
Yeah.
energy, and people have to believe that we are actually exposed to it. So those feelings we get when we walk into the room where we go, oh, I don't like this feeling, that's energy. We're picking up on other people. And it took me a long time that when I walked into the room and I felt that energy, because I was so open, because that's who I am. I'm an open person. When I meet people, I see the good in people, not the bad in people. I'm that way of thinking that we're all here to help each other. I know that sometimes can make me vulnerable. However, there are antennas built in my system that always indicates that there's someone not in my best interest that's around me. It may take a little while, but I will pick up on it eventually. But when we walk into those rooms and feel that negative energy, for years, I thought, oh, people don't like me. People don't like me, because I could feel the negative energy. But then through my healing, I've realized, and understanding of energies, I've realized that it's actually their energy projecting out. So if there may be some negative people in that room portraying negative energy that I'm picking up on, and realizing it's not me, it's them, having a different mindset and still walking in with confidence and my authenticity, and not changing who I am because of the energy around me that may be seeping from people. So it's understanding everyone has energy. And it's also about how we carry when we meet. Today, you and I are exchanging energy, that we walk away with a bit of each other's energy, and then we need to cleanse that from each other. So we're actually, sending back what's not mine and calling back what that is, because that's where in life, society and people feel so drained, is because they've lost their energy to everyone else. They've given that away. Now, I'm a giving person. I'm a very, very people pleaser. People go, oh, people pleasers, and I've been interviewing a lot of people throughout my podcast, and also just people that I meet and friends about, the new phase at the moment is you've got to stop people pleasing. I don't believe you have to stop people pleasing, but I think you need to set boundaries, and you need to know how to care for yourself. Because if we stop people pleasing, and again, people pleasing to me is giving to
Yeah.
people, make them happy. That's just my way of it. Or other people will go, they'll conform because people want them to do that, but they don't really want to do that, but they'll do it anyway just to please them, so they don't cause any conflict. You've got to have your boundaries. So it doesn't mean you stop everything that you're doing to, share your giving and share your pleasing of others, because that when I help others, when I go over and above to do things for people, I don't do it. It's unconditionally why I'm doing it. But what the addiction for me is, it's the gratitude that they have. And I don't expect the gratitude, but gratitude that people have. But even if they don't have it, it's the feeling that I've done something for someone. It's the unconditional giving. And that's where people have to really realize when they're giving, It's not with conditions. It's not with, oh, I'll give, if I do this for you, I expect something back. You
It's
do
not a
something,
cycle. Yeah.
no, yeah, I call that unconditional kindness. And that's the way I look at it. And unconditional kindness is different to kindness with conditions. And you don't do something out of kindness to expect something back. And for me, that's the way I live my life and my ethos. It is hard to stay positive when you have a lot of negativity coming at you every day around the world, in broadcast TV, social media. For me, I try and limit that. I've spoken to my husband and please ask him not to watch 3 newses in the row because it actually starts affecting the way
Affecting
I
your
feel
energy.
and my energy. I try and avoid that. I try and have, music. I love my music. I love having music on the background. I love my animals. I have a cockatoo, gorgeous, who I talk and sing, and she talks and sings and dances with me. I have my beautiful Molly, who is my puppy dog that, I walk and, love. And animals are beautiful, particularly animals that you can pat because they're so close to the ground. When you pat them, they ground you as well, and they're so calming in that aspect. And I've always had dogs all my life, never without an animal. And then I've got my beautiful husband. That's also, I see him as an equal. And that's another thing. Be careful what you wish for. Uh, how I met my husband, what I was asking the universe at the time, and this was a true thing, was I wanted to meet my equal. I wanted to meet my equal. I had 2 previous relationships that didn't work out. And that's because I actually married what I would see as takers in life. They take, and I'm a
Okay.
giver. So at the start of our relationship, it felt really good because I was giving, they were
Always
taking,
giving.
and
Mhm.
it was actually meeting my needs. But after a while, they just kept taking and never gave. And at the end of the day, you can't give from an empty cup. If you're not receiving anything back, you start resenting. You get exhausted. You can't give anymore,
Very
and
tapped
then
out.
you see them in a different light. You think that they were this at one stage, but you see them in the other light. So I did ask the universe to meet my equal. So my husband now is he was a true giver. And when I said I met my equal, we met later in life. We both had houses. We both bought a new car a month before we met each other. We both had the same superannuation amounts in our accounts because, again, as you get older and you may, be more successful than others, you can, there are lots of opportunities out there. And I was always mindful that I wasn't being taken advantage for the position I've built in my life. So we met each other equal at every way. And yeah, so I just see the male, I see me in him from the male side, and he sees me as his female side, and we're teaching each other
And you're complementing
lessons
each other.
every day. Every day we teach each other because we both have different opinions. Although we're equal, we've got different opinions, and we teach other different ways we see things because he sees things very negative. Well,
Yeah.
when I say negative, he's a very positive person, but he's in a negative work space. From serving the community, he sees a lot of wrongs in that, if I can say, he works in the police force, so he sees a lot of bad things. He's not saying,
Yeah.
but there's
Part
more
of the job. Yeah.
negativity than positivity in that world, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Where I come from a more positive side, I was in the health where it's all about helping and healing, and yes, there were sad situations, but there was more positivity. But then as a human, I'm more positive and see people. I'm not tainted. I see people as are good, and everyone has a born that way. It's just sometimes life experiences lead them to situations that they're in, or being a person that they probably wouldn't have been, but situations has just led them that way. So that's where I getting back to I've lost track now. I'm just
Staying positive with
staying
all the
positive.
negative surroundings
Yeah,
around you, and
staying positive. Sorry, staying positive.
I'm
Of
bringing you
course,
back to staying positive.
you've got to work at it. So
Yeah.
it's about being having guidelines for yourself, not exposing yourself to that, and
Yes.
then also when you're hearing something negative, is
Mhm.
calling that out. So I always call that out and go, okay, I'm mentoring people in my new job every day. I'm a lot older than them. I could be actually their mother, which frightens me sometimes when I think that. But I've been around for a long time, and and where they're seeing the negative side, I always mentor them and show the positive. And where someone's been not nice to them, which happens in everyday life, I just go treat them with kindness. Just treat them with kindness. Don't react. Or if you do react, treat them with kindness.
Don't be a
I said, because
participant.
they can't,
That's it.
don't participate. And that's coming back to being the observer.
Yeah.
So that's where I was the participant. Energy meets energy. I
Yeah.
would
You would
back.
go.
So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm in a situation, and I've just had a situation recently where I felt like I was the true observer, and I was helping as my father-in-law come out of hospital, and there was a team meeting about how we were going to get him from one state to the other state because he was in hospital and really unwell, and I felt that I was the observer in that, and there was lots of conflict between the clinicians and my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, my husband, and I'm watching what was happening, literally watching what was happening. And I was being the observer, and I was able to lead that situation and get them to follow me on what was the right thing to do and for the right reason, and really sort of calm the situation down. Where in the past I sort of walked out of that and I thought, wow, I took a really different role in that, because I would usually be a participant in that energy, meeting
Mm-hmm.
that same energy. And I was really proud of myself. That was a really big moment for me where I thought, I'm now observing. And that was when I truly realized I moved from all the healing I've done to actually observe more in life and not to react.
Yeah.
And when things happen, and this is something that I'll leave with your
Mm-hmm.
viewers, when something does happen, or when you're in those, because we can't not get into conflict. There's always going to be conflict at any time in our life, and we can't avoid it. It's always going to come at us. But
Mm-hmm.
when things happen to us, or when we're in those situations, the next best thing you can do is something kind, whether that's for yourself or for the other person. And that may be leaving the room, going to get a drink of water for yourself or that person. It's the next kind thing you can do. And I think if you lead with that, you will move from that participant to the observer, and giving you space and them space to actually really sit back and reflect on that energy interaction that you were having. And that's really sort of that true observer that I'm talking about in those situations. So it's something you've got to work out. I don't expect I'm going to wake up positive. I've been sick for the last 2 weeks with sinusitis. My husband had COVID.
Oh,
It's one of those things that life throw things at you, but you've got to keep on moving and keep on believing and trusting that
yeah.
everything's happening for the right reason. I was sort of questioning myself, and it's really reflecting. I'm in another role uh, at the moment that I'm really enjoying, but I've noticed I'm doing the same pattern that I did in my last roles.
Mm-hmm.
Is I'm throwing myself into doing everything for that job, and I'm not balancing it with
Oh,
my
with
life.
your
And that's where I was getting a little bit, and I realized I'm out of alignment, because and then I realized, you know what? I'm following the same pattern. And if I don't stop what I'm doing, the universe is going to slap me down again somewhere else.
we're
So it's,
gonna give you some signs to
yeah,
listen.
give me some signs and really slap me down. So I'm just like, right, I'm going to change my ways. And I've really reflected that, what I've been doing. And again, and giving so much to myself to a job
Mhm.
that, yes, I enjoy, but it's not my purpose. I believe it's helping me get to my purpose from earning money so I can actually, do my positive vibes podcasts and give back to society in that way. But I've got to bring it back to, what I really love doing, which is, connecting with people like yourself. I was excited to come here today and connect with you and your viewers and really get that balance. So that was a big wake up call for me this week. But I'd been feeling it for a while, but because I've been sick as well, I thought it was my irritability inside me was about that. But I really realized it was, I'm giving too much of that job and I'm seeing patterns. I'm going into work early, I'm leaving work late. I'm thinking of work when I wake up, and it's just like, no, that's got to stop. That's got
That's
to
okay.
stop. And I've got to really get back into my purpose, which is really giving to society and doing more. Because I've got big plans, but I've put them on hold while I started this new role. And I thought, no, I've got to keep pushing more the other way. And yes, giving to my role, but I don't have to give 300%. I've just got to give 100% and be happy with that. And that was the other thing is, in these roles that we get ourselves into, we feel guilty if we're not giving 300%. And really, that's something we've got to work internally, that, we've got to do what makes us feel happy. And for me, it's about living at peace. And I found that in the last couple of weeks, I'm not living at peace because I'm not doing what I really enjoy doing. But it's a work every day. Every
It's a-
day is something that you have to consciously ask and consciously think. And then when you're in those moments, go, am I participating or am I leading by being the observer? And that's really about self-reflection. I always reflect. Reflection is that double loop learning,
Mhm.
interactions that you have. What was that about? Did I do the right thing? Was there another way to do that? Would I do it again? And that's that reflection. It's that double loop learning. So really understanding how you're reacting in situations, and was that you being in your higher self, and were you shining for others? And that's where I'm sort of, my mentality sort of has been leading, so I can help others. And it was interesting, only yesterday I had some, in the work environment again, things come my way that I didn't really appreciate, and it actually triggered the feelings I had back in that corporate world. And so if you can imagine, that was the first time I've had that trigger in years, and I'm just gone, here we go again. And the way I responded was, and my employees knew things were happening and could see I wasn't myself, and I'm trying to lift myself up and be the higher person. And one of my employees goes, you know what? I've noticed, Nikki, that no matter what happens, you always you are always address things with grace and kindness, no matter how negative they are. And that's just so inspiring to see someone in that way. And I said, well, that's how we should live life all together. I said, but it's taken me a while to get to this space, but I'm glad I'm here to mentor that for you. And you're learning it earlier in life, where I didn't have that mentor in my life at her age. They come later in my life, but it's all meant to be. You're meant to learn when you're meant to learn. Life is a journey, but it doesn't come easy. You've got to work at it.
I just in my head I was noting like all the practical tips that you're sharing about positivity and how to stay. So one of the things, be careful what you wish for, guard your thoughts. Stay
Mm,
when there's negativity, step outside, take a cup of coffee or take a break. That's also okay. The other thing that I also learned: be an observer. Don't be a participant. Be an observer if you
mm,
can. So those are the practical tips. The other thing that I was also like with me sometimes with the negativity or something, not to be a participant. Like I count 1 to 10 or 1 to 20 mentally before I speak. When I was,
Mm.
again, I was raised Catholic, but I'm learning more about Buddhism. And then they were saying like, does it
Yeah,
matter 5 days from now? Use the 5 by 5 rule, like 5 seconds from now, safe net. So,
yeah,
and then guard your thoughts. So, those are the practical things that as I was listening to you that we could share the viewers right now. As we're getting wrapping up for our topic, are there any other practical exercises or tips that you could share, actionable practices to staying positive, grounded, um, and be centered and heartfelt with kindness, unconditional kindness?
yeah. Unconditional. I think it all starts with being kind to yourself. So you have to be kind to yourself, because if you're not kind to yourself, how can you be kind to others? And that's that self-talk that we put ourselves down all the time. It's when you find yourself that you're having a negative thought or calling yourself a, stupid person because you did something. We must stop that, and also being kind to ourselves of taking time out. I know if I don't get my walks with my dog in the morning, or if I don't get my Pilates, or if I don't get to meditate, and I don't meditate every day. I know people are very ritual and have really strict protocols and they have to do everything every day. You've got to work out what's good for you and what meets with you, because I found I was putting too much pressure on myself. I mean, I must do this, I must do that, I must do
Yeah, the
this
to-do list.
to be grounded, and that was actually making me more stressful because I wasn't getting that. But to fit into what feels right and align with you. There's lots of things out there in social media and different strategies that people say journaling. That works for some, it doesn't work for others.
Mm,
Listening to music is something that I listen to that really grounds me and really soothes me. Going for walks, watching, listening and talking to the magpies and letting them sing to me, and really connecting with nature really grounds me. You've got to find what works for you. And there's lots of trends are happening, but there's lots of beautiful, beautiful modalities out there. I've interviewed so many people that have got beautiful modalities of healing, but you must find what works for you. Try things. If it doesn't align, move on to the next thing. But you don't have to keep thinking you have to do this and have to do that to be that spiritual or grounded person. You've got to find what suits you. One chappie that I did interview gave me a really, really good tip that I keep sharing with people. And he's just got in his phone a tick sheet of all the things he loves to do, and he ticks them off every time he
oh,
does them, from day to day, or it could be from week to week. And when he finds himself irritable and not aligned, he's just, oh, what's going on, he goes back and goes, oh, that's why I'm feeling like this, because I haven't meditated for a week, or I haven't ran for a week, or I haven't done this. Like there's something that's missing that he hasn't done for himself. So kindness to yourself. And that, a lot of people think kindness to yourself, you've got to go off to a day spa and do that. It's
no.
actually just taking time out for yourself, doing what's good for you, having that time for you to actually rest and heal and away. As my husband says to me, he's a bit of a chatter and he talks at me all the time. And I get to that time for me to replenish. I need quiet time. That's how I rebuild my energy. It may be only, 20 minutes, but I just need that pure quietness. And he giggles at me and goes, oh, you need your quiet time at the moment, don't you? And he respects that. And I go, yeah, because, I'm leading, I'm talking to people every day.
Yeah.
And then to come home and he's so excited, and he's a real process person. He'll tell me everything in the conversation and
Yeah.
who was in and what they were wearing, and I'm just sort of brain dead going, I just need to
And
recharge.
it's recharge.
Just let me recharge, and then I'll have that conversation with you. And then he'll ask me, how my day is, and I'll go, good, because I'm just exhausted. So he'll know that I need that time. So it's finding out what you need and what suits you and what aligns with you. And yes, there are many, many things out there, and there's many beautiful modalities. Try them, and see what fits. And that could be just 20 minutes in your car, sitting at the river, watching people walk past, whatever suits. You don't have to go and spend a lot of money, join a lot of courses. Mind you, I found my spiritual healer, my kinesiologist, was beautiful and did a lot of healing for me from not realizing I was holding on to things from my childhood, and realizing experiences in my childhood was who I was today, and I was reactionary to them. So I found kinesiology and my spiritual healer wonderful. But I think as society, we've got to really call out to ourselves. We're all leaders. Some of us are parents to children or to animals. Some of us are creators. We've got to really be there for mentoring others, and really, choose between success and soul. What what aligns with your soul? And for me, success and soul is being at peace, and we can be both strong and soft,
Mm-hmm.
driven and kind, and whole and human. So we've really got to lead with that and mentor that with everyone around there. But I believe if we're not kind to ourselves, if we don't take time for ourselves, we can't shine at our highest self, and therefore we won't shine for others. And that's a real take home message. It starts with you first. And kindness is the only value you need.
Nikki, thank you so much for sharing your heart, your wisdom, sharing some practical tips on how to stay positive in life throws us squabbles, sharing your vulnerability from the corporate world to this new sharing, mentoring, and so inspiring. I know that whoever you mentored right now are so lucky and blessed to have
Mm,
you. All the people, including me, that you've interviewed, live you say that you people remember you not by your title, but what how you treated them, how you make you
mm,
them feel. And I will always remember how you make me feel. And for those that you've been interviewed, I know that they share the same. So thank you very much for this time. Please don't forget to follow Nikki at Positive Vibes in Facebook. And don't forget also to like and subscribe and comment. If you like this episode, share this to your friends. And we would love to hear from you. And other than that, I wish you everybody a good afternoon, good evening, whatever time zone you'll be watching this episode. And looking forward for the next gratitude journey with Michelle. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Nikki. I'll talk to you in a second. I'm just gonna plan our um outdoor out during recording, and here we go.